Did you know that nearly 1 in 3 renters in British Columbia end up regretting their tenancy agreement? Avoid common mistakes by knowing exactly what to look for before signing that lease. Introduction. Hey everyone. If you're planning to rent a home in British Columbia, it's crucial to understand what's in your tenancy agreement. This document is a contract, and once signed, it's enforceable by law. That means you're legally bound by its terms, so you need to be sure you're comfortable with everything before you sign. In today's video, we'll go over the key things you need to check in your residential tenancy agreement to protect yourself as a tenant and avoid future issues. The problem is that many renters don't take the time to carefully review their tenancy agreement before moving in. Once you sign, it's usually too late to change things without going through a lot of legal hoops. This can lead to problems down the road, whether it's unexpected rent hikes, unfair clauses, or even illegal terms. Imagine signing an agreement and later finding out that your landlord can increase the rent at any time, or that you're responsible for repairs that should be covered by the landlord. Understanding the details of the contract can prevent these situations and save you from unnecessary stress. Let's break down the most important things to look for before signing a residential tenancy agreement in BC. Make sure the rent amount, due date, and payment method are clearly stated. The agreement should outline when and how you need to pay rent, whether it's by check, e-transfer, or another method. Don't forget to check if there's a clause about late fees or penalties. Check the start and end dates of the tenancy. If the agreement is for a fixed term, for example, 1 year, find out what happens at the end of the term. Will the lease automatically renew, or will you need to sign a new one? If it's a month-to-month agreement, be clear on the notice periods required for ending the tenancy. In BC, landlords can request a security deposit of up to half of 1 month's rent. The agreement should state the exact amount and how it will be returned at the end of your tenancy. Be sure the conditions for the return of your deposit are clear, and ask about any circumstances where deductions may be made. Understand who is responsible for repairs and maintenance. A good tenancy agreement will outline which repairs are your responsibility, for example, basic cleaning, and which ones are the landlord's responsibility, for example, major repairs. This will help avoid confusion later on if something breaks. Your agreement should respect your privacy rights under BC law. The landlord can only enter the rental unit under specific circumstances and with proper notice, usually 24 hours. Be sure the agreement clearly outlines these rules. In BC, landlords must follow strict rules for rent increases. The agreement should specify how and when rent increases can occur. In most cases, a rent increase can't happen more than once every 12 months, and it must be in line with the provincial guidelines. Look out for any clauses that might restrict how you can use the rental property. This includes pet restrictions, smoking policies, or subletting rules. Make sure these rules align with your lifestyle and preferences. Be on the lookout for any hidden fees or vague terms. Make sure the agreement clearly defines any additional costs such as utilities, parking fees, or fees for late rent payment. Ensure that the agreement clearly lists which amenities are included in the rent. This could be utilities like water, gas, and electricity, as well as internet, garbage collection, or any other services provided. It's essential to know exactly what's covered, so there are no surprises later on. If your rental property includes a parking spot or a storage locker, always make sure these are specifically identified and listed in your tenancy agreement. This will prevent any future confusion, especially if these amenities are not guaranteed or available at all times. Having it clearly stated in the contract ensures you're not left without these essential services, particularly if they are important to you. Here's a real-life example. Jane, a tenant, signed a tenancy agreement without fully understanding the rent increase clause. A year into her lease, her rent jumped by 10%, well above the allowable increase under BC law. She was shocked and had to take legal action to challenge the hike. Had she understood the terms of her agreement, she could have avoided this situation entirely. Another tenant, Michael, didn't check what utilities were included in his rent. After moving in, he found out that his water and garbage collection weren't covered, and he had to pay out of pocket for these services. Had he ensured these details were in the agreement, he could have avoided this extra cost. And then there's Rachel, who assumed that the parking spot included with her unit was guaranteed for the entire term of her lease. However, when she moved in, she found out that it wasn't actually specified in the contract. A few months later, the landlord rented out her parking spot to another tenant, forcing Rachel to park elsewhere. This could have easily been avoided if the parking spot had been clearly listed in her agreement. Conclusion: to sum up, a residential tenancy agreement is a binding contract, so it's essential to review it carefully before signing. Check the rent terms, lease length, security deposit policies, and responsibilities for repairs. Also, ensure you understand what amenities are included in the rent, whether utilities are covered, and if parking or storage is guaranteed. Be on the lookout for any hidden fees or unfair clauses. By understanding these key areas, you can protect yourself from unexpected costs and legal disputes down the road. Have you ever had an issue with your tenancy agreement or encountered a clause you didn't understand? Drop your questions or experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos on tenant and landlord rights in BC. Stay informed and empowered.